If I gave you $10,000 today, you'd feel relief. If I gave you $100,000 today, you'd feel safe for a while. But if you become the type of person who can keep $100,000, your life changes permanently. And almost nobody understands that difference. People think the first 100K is about math: make more money, spend less, invest the rest. Sounds simple, but in real life it almost never works that way, because the first $100,000 isn't a money problem, it's a comfort problem. Your brain is used to living at a certain level, and the moment you move above it, it tries to pull you back. That's why people don't usually fail while earning money. They fail right before things finally change. You've seen it happen. Someone starts doing better, their income goes up, opportunities appear, and then suddenly they upgrade their apartment, buy a nicer car, travel more, relax their habits, and within a year, they're back where they started. From the outside, it looks irresponsible. From the inside, it feels completely justified. They worked hard, they deserved it, they wanted to enjoy life. But what actually happened is their brain returned them to normal. Every person has a number they secretly believe is their level in life, not the number they want, the number they expect. And your behavior always moves you back toward that number. If deep down you see yourself as a person with a few $1,000s saved, anything above that feels temporary, so you slowly remove it without realizing it. Not in one stupid decision, but in many reasonable ones. A slightly better lifestyle, slightly more comfort, slightly more rewards after effort. Nobody wakes up and decides to ruin their financial future. They just reward their present mood. And rewards are the biggest enemy of early wealth. Because building your first real savings requires living like a person you don't fully believe you are yet. That creates tension, and humans remove tension fast. Spending removes tension instantly. Saving removes tension slowly. Investing increases tension for a while. So the brain prefers spending, even when you know better. This is why income alone never makes people rich. If income created wealth, every high earner would become wealthy. Instead, many just become stressed at a higher level. The moment your lifestyle grows as fast as your income, progress becomes invisible. And when progress is invisible, motivation disappears, so your brain looks for excitement instead. New purchases replace real progress. Here's the strange part. The closer you get to stability, the stronger your urge to break it becomes. Not because you're irresponsible, but because your brain isn't used to surplus. Humans evolved to handle not enough, not extra. Extra feels temporary, so the mind converts it into experiences and objects. That's why the first 100,000 feels fragile, not because it is fragile, but because it's unfamiliar. Think about standing on a boat for the first time. Your muscles panic and overreact even when the water is calm. After a while, your body relaxes and balance becomes automatic. Money works the same way. At first, you constantly check your account, hesitate on decisions, overthink small purchases, and ignore big patterns. You treat money like it might disappear any second. Then one day, it stops feeling like luck and starts feeling normal. That moment is the real milestone, not the number itself. Because once your brain accepts stability as normal, your actions stop destroying it. And suddenly, money grows faster without you working harder. This is why the second 100,000 comes much quicker, not just because of investing, but because you stopped resetting yourself. Decisions become calmer. Opportunities stop feeling scary. Small losses stop feeling like disasters. You stop reacting and start continuing. Almost every financial result follows one simple rule. You can only keep money that matches the person you believe you are. Everything above that quietly turns into comfort until your identity changes. So the real challenge of the first 100,000 is teaching your brain that having money is normal. And that starts with changing one question you've asked your entire life. Most people ask, what can I afford right now? Wealthy people ask, who does this choice turn me into? The first question improves today. The second changes your future. And the moment you consistently choose the second, your life direction permanently shifts.
Now, here is where people misunderstand wealth completely. They think once you hit six figures, life changes instantly. It doesn't. Nothing magical happens the morning after you cross $100,000. You wake up the same person with the same habits and the same fears. The difference is subtle but dangerous. At this stage, money stops being about survival and starts being about identity. Most people sabotage themselves here because they upgrade their life before upgrading their thinking. They buy a better car, move to a nicer apartment, order more food delivery, take more trips, and suddenly their expenses rise exactly to meet their income. Psychologically, they never left the starting point. They just moved the finish line further away. When I crossed my first 100,000, I almost lost it within a year because I believed I deserved relief. I thought the hard part was over, so I slowed down. I stopped tracking expenses. I invested emotionally instead of logically. I bought things to celebrate progress instead of reinvesting to multiply it. That's when I realized the second barrier exists. The first barrier is believing wealth is impossible. The second barrier is believing you've already made it. The moment you feel rich at $100,000, you guarantee you will never reach 1 million, because wealth is not a number. Wealth is a behavior pattern repeated long enough. The people who reach 1 million treat 100,000 exactly the same way they treated 10,000, not as freedom, as fuel. They protect it aggressively. They assume it can disappear at any time. They continue to live slightly below their means even though they could afford more. And most importantly, they shift from earning money to owning systems. This is the exact point where the game changes from active effort to leverage. Let me explain what leverage actually feels like, because people imagine it wrong. They imagine passive income means money appearing while you sleep without thinking. Real leverage feels uncomfortable because it requires patience. Instead of making money immediately, you build something that makes money repeatedly. Instead of selling time, you design a machine. That machine might be skills that compound, investments that grow, or businesses that operate without constant presence. At $100,000, you finally have enough capital to start thinking like this. But emotionally, you still want quick wins because your brain remembers scarcity. That's why many people fall back into trading, gambling investments, risky crypto bets, or starting new projects every month. They crave the adrenaline of fast progress again because steady growth feels slow after the climb. But millionaires fall in love with boring growth. They measure progress in years, not weeks. When I finally understood this, I created a rule for myself. Every dollar above basic living expenses had a job before it arrived. Some went into index funds automatically. Some went into scalable projects. Some went into skill acquisition. And a small percentage went into enjoyment so I wouldn't burn out. The key was decision removal. I stopped asking myself what I wanted to do with money each month because that question leads to emotional decisions. Instead, I designed a default behavior. Wealth is simply what happens when good financial behavior runs longer than bad impulses. Over the next few years, nothing dramatic happened. My income didn't explode overnight, no viral business, no lucky trade, just consistent reinvestment and patience. And then something strange occurred. Opportunities started appearing that I couldn't access before. Better partnerships, larger deals, lower risk investments. Not because I was smarter, but because capital attracts optionality. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys choices. The psychological barrier disappears when you realize the first 100,000 is not proof you're wealthy. It's proof you're capable of becoming wealthy. The millionaire mindset begins the day you stop spending money to feel successful and start allocating money to become difficult to destroy financially. That is the real definition of wealth. Not luxury, not status, not even freedom. It is resilience, the ability to make bad months irrelevant and crises survivable. And once you understand that, your behavior changes permanently. You stop chasing income and start engineering stability. Ironically, that stability is what produces the highest income over time, because calm decision makers outperform emotional ones in every financial environment. So if you're currently below $100,000, do not be discouraged. You're not behind, you're training. The struggle phase is not punishment, it's installation of habits. But if you ever reach that number, remember this warning. The world will tempt you to celebrate too early. Friends will say you've made it. Social media will suggest you upgrade your lifestyle. Your brain will whisper that you deserve comfort now. And that is the moment most futures die quietly. Treat your first $100,000 not as a reward, but as a responsibility. Because it's the first time money starts working with you instead of against you. Protect it. Multiply it. Ignore appearances. The person who understands this eventually stops worrying about money completely, not because they have infinite income, but because they built a system stronger than their impulses. And that's the final secret. The richest people you know aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who need the least effort to keep growing. The day your wealth grows faster than your desires, you've crossed the real barrier. And that barrier has nothing to do with finance. It exists entirely in your psychology.